is Histories and Mysteries. I'm Ashley.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Rochelle.
And on this week's episode, Ashley's going to be talking about the case of Angela Diaz. And then Rochelle is going to be talking about murders that were solved because of dreams.
That sounds so cool.
So cool.
All right. Well, I'm going to get right into it. I'm very excited for this story.
Okay.
Me too. I don't think I've ever heard of it. So
Me neither.
I hadn't either. So, all right. Angela Diaz was 31 years old and living her perfect life. She was newly married to Ian Diaz and pregnant with their first child. There was only one problem: Ian's ex, Michelle Hadley. Michelle and Ian had purchased the condo that Angela and Ian were currently living in, and according to records, Michelle had financed the down payment, so there was like a lot of back and forth going on between Michelle and Ian in the whole condo situation. One day, Angela went to check her email and made a disturbing discovery. Michelle had sent her threatening emails, and these continued for weeks. So here's some of them. May 29th. I hope you're scared to death tomorrow. Be prepared. Don't sleep. We will steal your child and we will watch it as it dies.
okay, Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah. You are a piece of shit and I hope to God you burn for what you have done to us.
Oh,
What? It wasn't even Angela.
Yeah.
Ugh.
May 31st. You deserve nothing but a life of lonely torture. I have ways to hurt you. There is no place you will be safe anymore. June 1st.
Horrible.
You might be beautiful. You might be the one that he married, but you're still a sinner and must be punished. I will make sure you are reminded of your place by force.
Okay, I don't understand people because if you are going to make threats to someone else, do you not think that it would be smarter to do it like in person with no
Where
witnesses
there's no record?
or
Yeah.
record? Yeah. Like you're
Yeah.
writing your shit down. Like there's going to be a written record and it's like a timestamp, a name stamp that it was from you.
Yeah.
Like that makes no sense to me. Like that's just horrible.
Yeah.
Those
Well, and
messages.
Angela said that she would block some of these emails and then Michelle would just make new email addresses and
Oh my
email from
goodness.
those. And then June 2nd, I know you are leaving work. I watch as you walk. Let's play a game.
Ew.
what is
Some
the
of these-
saw?
I know, right?
I want to
So they're
play a
just supposed to
game.
say hi, Jigsaw.
Right? And then some of these emails included pictures of naked, bruised women, beaten women, or men like groping women, and some even had pictures of dead babies because Angela was pregnant.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So Angela was terrified, obviously,
Yeah.
and got a restraining order put on Michelle. But that didn't stop Michelle. Michelle continued to email Angela and was eventually arrested for violation of the restraining order. But Michelle's parents bailed her out.
Oh my goodness.
But then Angela was assaulted in her own garage. She was able to fight him off, but this was not the first time that a strange man had showed up to her house. Turns out someone had taken an ad out on Craigslist saying that posting as Angela, saying that she wanted a rape fantasy to be fulfilled.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
They wanted a man to show up and gave Angela's address, and the quote from the ad was, "Pull me down, choke me, and bruise me, have your way with them." Or have your way with me.
Horrible. Holy effer mothers.
Yes.
Who comes up with that? Like, what kind of person thinks that's a funny thing to do? You know,
Right?
ugh.
So Michelle was arrested again. She insisted that she was framed, that she had nothing to do with this, but Angela and her U.S. Marshal husband Ian knew it was Michelle. Michelle sat in prison for months and received death threats once her story hit the news. The media took this story and ran and kind of made it as like an evil love triangle gone wrong. But with Michelle in prison, Angela finally felt safe. Or had she ever really felt threatened to begin with?
What?
Had she ever really been in danger?
What?
Oh, let me guess.
While sitting,
Let me guess. No, wait. Should I guess or should I wait till the end to see if it's right? I have a theory as to what's going on here.
What's your theory?
That like Michelle was never writing the emails in the first place. It was her.
Huh. Well, let's
That's
see.
that's what I was thinking.
So while sitting in prison, Ian, the husband, went to the detective on this case and told them that Michelle was innocent and he believed that his wife Angela was framing her. So, because of this confession, Michelle was released with an ankle monitor while the investigation continued. But why would Ian betray his wife like this? Why would he all of a sudden, after all of this, almost a year of these emails, why would he all of a sudden be like, oh, you know what? He found out that she had lied about being pregnant.
Oh no.
She bought fake sonograms online and used those in her elaborate scheme. Once Ian found
What?
out, they separated.
That's like what
Oh
happened
my
on Glee.
goodness.
I watched
I was thinking Chicago, but that's funny.
So once police started to take Michelle seriously, because remember she had told them that she was being framed, but they didn't believe her. They started to look into the case a bit more. And apparently, they said prior to this, for some reason, they couldn't look at IP addresses or whatever, but now they could. And so they found out that the emails were actually sent from IP addresses of the Anaheim condo where Angela lived, Angela's father's home, and Angela's cell phone. And the Craigslist ad was also completed from Angela's IP address.
Oh man.
So Michelle, though, fully believes that Ian was the mastermind behind this, trying to get her back for ending their relationship, which was always turbulent. So, listen to this relationship.
Okay. I'm on my edge of my seat.
So, Michelle was outmatched from the start because she was not only was her ex Ian, he was a cop. He was a U.S. Marshal.
Oh.
So, no matter what she said, who you're calling his buddies, right, for help. And then also the authorities kind of quickly assessed the situation as, oh no, Michelle's a scorned woman, enraged by jealousy. And that if Michelle was a femme fatale rather than a victim, the case would make more sense for the authorities. She claimed that when she told police she was being framed by Angela, they didn't believe her. But then when she told investigators about her relationship with Ian, they were shocked. So Ian's dominating personality became apparent early on, according to Michelle. He bullied her into wearing like crop tops and artificial nails and piercing her belly button to like give her a sexier look. She claimed that he also forced her to take a $20,000 pay cut to leave her job for a marketing job at his former employer, Disneyland Resort. And
Why?
since he had previously worked there, he had old buddies that would keep an eye on her.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Ian also would spy on Michelle's computer and her online behavior. And every time Michelle would kind of walk a few miles outside the area of her house or work or like school, he would call her. So she was pretty sure he was tracking her car as well. So in the summer of 2015, Michelle and Ian moved into this brand new condo. They took out the mortgage together. But once they kind of purchased the house, their relationship became even worse. And Michelle was actually starting to get really scared for her physical health, too. She was afraid that, he was going to start abusing her. And on one occasion, Ian pulled over his SUV on the interstate and told her to get out during an argument they had.
What?
Yeah.
I hate when people do that.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
especially on such a busy road. Like, why can't you
Yeah.
just wait?
Yeah. She did say that she did try to leave him at one time, and he allegedly like slammed her down on the bed and held her while she like screamed and clawed at him.
I hate that.
Yeah. But one day she was finally able to get up and leave, and the year-long battle for the condo began. However, Even with all of this evidence, Ian was not questioned again by the police. And when they asked for his phone to investigate like emails and stuff like that, he said, "Oh, I gave my phone to my mom." And the police said, "Oh, okay, cool." So
What?
Angela,
What?
yeah, yeah. So Angela took the fall for all of this, and she was charged on January 6, 2017 with several crimes, including perjury and grand theft associated with false accusations. She pleaded guilty to the charges on October 2017 and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Um, but Ian still to this day has not been charged with
Oh my
anything.
gosh.
Um, Michelle is currently or did sue the city for not like taking anything she said seriously and not looking into her case at all. Like
Yeah, for sure.
she believes that they kind of just were using like the buddy system, like, oh, he's a fellow cop, so we're just gonna kind of take his word for it and call it a day, and
Yeah,
like
because
didn't
why
look
would
into
they
anything.
ever do anything wrong?
Yeah. Because I mean, like, it was easy enough to see the IP address. Like, she spent several months in jail,
Mm-hmm.
and all they had to do was look up the IP address.
Okay, let me just like say I have nothing against law enforcement by my comment. I'm just saying
Yeah.
anybody can do something wrong,
Yes, exactly.
but like a lot of times they aren't taken seriously as doing something wrong because of their profession.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yep. So,
yes.
so, um, since her exoneration, Michelle's obtained her MBA and has a job for marketing in a beauty company. She moved across the country to New York to live with her sister. And she said that, like, on the surface, her life seems pretty normal now, but it's actually really hard still. She said dating's really hard because if she ever goes out on a date, if anybody Googles her name, like this pops up. So she's like, I try and figure out, should I say something right away and kind of like make a joke out of it? Should I not say anything? And like, she said dating's really
Mm.
hard.
Yeah.
Um, she's also still climbing out of debt because while she was in jail, she couldn't pay any of her bills. And even before like she was exonerated, she couldn't get a job. And she lost her old job because when, on the application, they would ask if she had ever been convicted of a felony. And at the time she had. So she
Mm-hmm.
couldn't find another job. So she's still trying to climb out of debt. And Ian sold their condo and didn't give her a dime of the profits.
But isn't he legally obliged to?
Well, I don't know because I think he sold it while she was in jail.
Oh, of course he did.
Yeah. So, um, I did want to say too, I got my sources, but I didn't want to say them till the end because I didn't want to give it away. But I got my sources from an article called "A Rape Fantasy: A Plot to Send Her to Jail. Now She's Fighting Back" by Jessica Testa, and "A Diabolical Scheme: Woman Jailed in Rape Fantasy Plot Against Ex-Fiance's Wife Was Framed" by Michelle Madigan.
Oh.
So did Angela was anybody convicted?
Angela was convicted and sentenced to 5 years in prison.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
but that was it. So
Dang.
that story was so short, you guys. It was 4 pages of notes. I don't
It's
know why
okay.
it was that
Mine is
short.
like very
Yeah.
long, so it'll
Okay,
balance.
perfect.
Jeez, but that was a good
Yeah.
story. Like wild,
Thanks.
wild roller coaster.
Yeah, I wanted to get you guys. I wanted to get you.
That was good.
And as you guys were like getting so mad at Michelle for the emails, I was like, ha.
But like, I just don't understand why she framed her.
Well, so she thinks that Ian was the mastermind because he was pissed that she left him.
Mm-hmm.
And Angela and Ian got together and like married like just a few months after Michelle had left Ian. So she thinks he was still pissed about it and trying to get back at her, and Angela went along with it for who knows why.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. Okie dokie.
So,
All right. So, my story is an amalgamation of 3 stories of murders that were solved
ooh,
because of dreams.
nice word.
Wonderful.
Amalgamation. I like it.
So, starting off with the mysterious murder of Eric Gordon Toome. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
I don't know.
So, I'm going to start by reading you a newspaper article. So,
Okay.
headline: Death of George Toome, verdict of murder against Dyer, failed women give evidence.
Ooh.
So, London, September 25th. A verdict of willful murder against the Australian Ernest Dyer, now dead, was returned at the inquest concerning the death of George Eric Toome, whose body was found in a cesspool on a farm at Kenley in Surrey, and who was shot in the head from behind. Toome was a partner of Dyer who owed him money. Dyer was shot dead at a Scarborough hotel last October in the course of a struggle with the police who were investigating some check frauds. Evidence was given that Dyer, by means of a forged power of attorney, drew £1,350 from Toome's banking account in Paris. A detective at Scarborough stated that a shilling, a pawn ticket, some cartridges, an eye shade, and a mask were found on Dyer's body. Forged checks were found. The evidence of 2 women in deep mourning and heavily veiled, whose names were not disclosed, was a dramatic feature towards the close of the Toome inquest. Mrs. Dyer, a good-looking young woman, was also in court. The Reverend Gordon Toome detailed the long search for his son. He identified a large number of checks drawn on his son's banking account, which were forgeries. They were first written in pencil, and then the signature was inked over. The first mystery woman proved to be the unknown friend mentioned on September 13th, who told Dyer she believed Toome had met with foul play. She gave evidence that she met Toome in the summer of 1918. He stayed with her frequently. She expected to meet him on April 25th, 1922, but instead Dyer came. She was suspicious and said she was going to Scotland Yard. Dyer replied that he would blow his brains out if she did.
Wow.
A sweetheart's evidence. The second veiled witness, a young girl, gave evidence that she was engaged to marry Toome, who she met in April 1921. She saw Toome and Dyer on April 20th, 1992, when they said they were going to Dyer's country place. Next day, she went to Toome's flat in the Haymarket and found a telegram there saying, "Shall be away writing." While she was there, Dyer telephoned and later came to the flat. He was drunk and he said he did not know where Eric was. Dyer stayed at the flat that night. "I left him there the next morning," said the witness. "When I returned in the afternoon, I found Dyer packing Toome's clothes. He settled Toome's bills for the flat and took me and a girlfriend out to dinner. When he paid the bill, he told the owners of the flat that Toome had gone abroad." Wife's astounding story. Mrs. Dyer, who gave her evidence voluntarily, told an equally astonishing story. She said her husband had a vile temper. They were not happy. On July 4th, 1922, she got a letter purporting to be from Toome, enclosing a bank check and asking her to go to the bank and draw the balance due to him and give it to her husband. She drew £65. At 11 o'clock one night in June 1922, when her husband had not been home for a week, she heard noises on the farm as if stones were being thrown into a drain pipe. "I got a dog," she said, "which led me to the cow shed outside the cesspool. The dog then flew at somebody who was proved to be her husband. He was very excited and agitated. He said Toome owed him £1,600, and if he saw Toome, he would kill him. He seemed very funny all night." After August 2nd, she heard nothing of her husband until his suicide was reported.
Oh.
So that was in
That's
the Adelaide
brutal.
Chronicle. So the story behind that. Eric Gordon Toome and Ernest Dyer met serving in the First World War. When they both returned unscathed, they managed to secure jobs at the Air Ministry in London. Toome was well off with £3,000 to his name, while Dyer had little more than his big dreams and grand schemes. Together, the duo would go into business, real and fraudulent. Their first two businesses went under quickly, so they bought a farm called the Welcomes Farm in Surrey. Dyer lived on the farm with his family, while Toome would take the train each day from Haymarket. In April of 1922, the farmhouse burnt down and a hefty insurance was taken out on the property. The insurance company was quite suspicious after petrol cans were found near the house, and so they didn't pay out. This is when Dyer began borrowing money from Toome, often forging his signature to get even more money. Toome was supposed to meet his girlfriend at the train station on April 25th, but Dyer came instead. He told her Toome had gone overseas for business. Later that month, Toome's parents received a letter from him saying that he was coming to visit, yet he never showed up. Concerned about his son's well-being, George Gordon Toome went to London looking for some answers. After weeks of looking, a barber in Haymarket was able to give him the name of Toome's friend, Ernest Dyer. George arrived at the farm to find Dyer's family, who hadn't heard from him in weeks. In November, Yorkshire Detective Inspector Abbott was in the midst of investigating checks that wouldn't cash when he approached a Mr. James Fitzsimmons, who was using the checks. He invited the detective upstairs, but on the way up, a gun hidden in Fitzsimmons' pocket went off, killing him instantly. Upon searching the room he was being led to, the detective found Toome's passport, his suitcase, and a large number of fraudulent checks. Fitzsimmons turned out to be, you guessed it, Ernest Dyer.
Oh!
Toome's father continued with the search for his son and met with the bank manager of Toome's bank. He was able to declare many signatures on Toome's checks for forgeries. The bank manager brought out a letter supposedly from Toome designating Dyer as his power of attorney. Not to mention, his account was extremely overdrawn.
Oh.
Now for the dreams.
Okay.
Toome's mother began having disturbing dreams in which her son was lying dead at the bottom of a well on the farm. George took that information to the police in September of 1923, and they began searching the farm's 5 wells, which were all filled in. Dreams don't normally count as credible evidence, but they already had lots of evidence against Dyer, so they gave it a chance. The 3rd well was packed with mud, but eventually they found a body. George was able to identify the body as his son, Eric Toome. There was a bullet hole in the back of his head from a close-range shotgun. Toome's actual death date is unknown, but it was most likely around April 21st, 1922, a year prior to his body being found.
Oh my gosh.
Upon further interrogation, Mrs. Dyer admitted that her dog became agitated one night and wouldn't stop barking at the door. As she stepped outside, she found her husband, who she thought was in France. He screamed, "Don't come in here! Don't come out! Get into the house again, for God's sake!" Oh. That's how they figured it out.
That's crazy that she had a dream and he turns out that he was really there.
Yeah.
That's
so
insane.
This Canadian murder was also solved by a dream.
Okay.
Many stories from the Dene Native Canadians tell of people who are gifted with the ability to see visions in their dreams. This case took place in Grand Prairie country in Alberta. Do you know where Alberta is, Ashley?
No.
It's what we call Western Canada.
Okay.
It's not coastal like Vancouver. It's the next one over.
Okay.
Where the Stampede and stuff is.
Gotcha. Okay.
Ark, Texas. In the summer of 1945, a Native woman dreamt that the ghost of her late husband led her to the bodies of 2 fellow tribesmen who drowned in the Wapiti River a month earlier.
Oh.
With the widow of one of the dead men by her side, she was able to locate the bodies, which were finally given a proper burial.
Oh, that's nice.
Now for George Hayward's dream.
Okay.
In the middle of one September night back in 1904, George Hayward awoke in his English home in a cold sweat. He immediately tried to write down every vivid detail of his dream. He dreamt of a mysterious force that dragged him into a world of raging rivers and gloomy pine forests. He could smell a mixture of pine sap, tanning buckskin, and campfire smoke. He looked over a nearby cluster of tall teepees. Out of nowhere, two white men rode by the native village. George instantly recognized one of the men as his brother, Edward. The men got onto a heated argument, and the other man shot Edward dead with his rifle.
Oh.
George watched in horror as the other man threw Edward's body onto the blazing bonfire he had built.
Oh, gosh.
Days later, a world away from George in England, Staff Sergeant Christian Fjellstead Anderson of the Northwest Mounted Police set out on patrol in the wilds in northwestern Canada. Anderson was heading towards the Sucker Creek Native Reserve on Lesser Slave Lake. As he made his way down the trail, he was approached by the chief of the tribe, Mistoos, who shared a mysterious story with Anderson. He recounted that several days earlier, two white men had camped near the reserve. One was an Englishman, and the other was called Charlie. 2 days later, Charlie rode off without his friend. He also mentioned a giant bonfire. Mistoos' cows mooed anxiously as they pawed at the fire's ashes. The next day, as Anderson sifted through the ashes, he found several pieces of charred bone.
No.
Oh.
He put the pieces in his pocket and brought them to be examined by a physician.
Ew, he put charred bone in his pocket.
Ew! What a creeper!
Yes, he did. As he was leaving, Anderson swore he saw a pair of dark eyes watching him from the shadows. Anderson turned back and paid a visit to the French Cree Métis hunter Moise Gladue. While Gladue prepared tea, Charlie limped into the cabin and introduced himself. "Charlie King, at your service," he said, touching his hat. Anderson told him he was investigating the disappearance of his partner, but Charlie didn't offer up much information. Anderson was able to secure an arrest warrant on Charlie after searching for a week and not finding anything. He found Charlie on the shores of the lake getting ready to set sail. Anderson hauled him away to jail.
Oh.
After the arrest, Anderson returned to sift through the ashes again. He found a waistcoat buckle and a broken half of a large needle. The local Cree found a pair of boots, which had a bundle inside containing a gold nugget tie pin, pocket watch, and a wallet designed to carry British sovereign coins. There was also an empty cartridge shell. While Anderson continued to search for evidence, Charlie was transported to Edmonton, then to a jail near Fort Saskatchewan. The constable that transferred Charlie visited the local Hudson's Bay Company store, which is still a thing in Canada. The trader recalled selling to an Englishman and found him listed as Edward Hayward in the store records.
Cool.
Really?
Meanwhile, back in Edmonton, an English sailor walked into Inspector Darcy Strickland's office. That man was George Hayward, who then lit up a smoke and asked Strickland, "Do you believe in dreams, sir?" He then told of his nightmare about his brother Edward's death. Of course, the details matched the crime scene to a T.
Oh my.
It turned out that the dream happened on the same night his brother disappeared.
No.
Howard was even able to identify Charlie out of an inmate lineup.
Oh my gosh.
That's
In
amazing.
September, Charlie stood trial for the murder of Edward Hayward. Charlie was found to be guilty and was sentenced to hang on September 30th, 1905.
Oh my gosh.
And I guess it wasn't as long as I thought it was, but so I used a couple different sources. I used a basically like newspaper archive, which is trove.nla.gov.au. And I also used discussingdepravity.com. It's a blog post. And finally, mysteriesofcanada.com article.
So my mom, her mom passed away when she was 21,
Aw.
and like it was a slow death because her mom had lung cancer. So she was in the hospital and she was not doing well. And my mom was at the hospital with her, and they're like, Dawn, go home, get some sleep. So my mom went home to get some sleep, and she had a dream. And in her dream, her mom came to her, and my mom said she remembers she had bright red lipstick on, because her mom was very sickly looking. But in her dream, she looked great and vibrant and had bright red lipstick on. And she told my mom that it was okay, everything was going to be okay, and that, basically saying goodbye. And then my mom woke up to the phone call saying that her mom had passed.
Oh,
Aw,
wow.
that's
Isn't
so
that crazy?
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Those are crazy stories, Rochelle. I loved that.
It's wild. I'm sorry that I was like absent for your second story, but my child came home.
Yeah, they're really cool, eh? Oh, and actually, fun fact, I think I read somewhere that story of Dyer uh, was the inspiration for James Bond.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's cool.
That's fun.
Awesome. Well, if you want more of us lovely ladies, you can find us on our website at historiesandmysteries.ca. And also check out our TikTok, Histories and Mysteries Pod. We are posting on there almost every day now. And you check out all of our other fun social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram.
And if you want to rate and review us, that would be super appreciated. And on
Yeah.
our website, we have a contact form that you can send recommendations of stories, things you'd like to see, things you don't want to see.
Evie wants to see them too. Also, if you've ever had a dream that came true, tell us about it.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, please. That'd be cool. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening, and we look forward to bringing you 2 new stories next week. Bye.